soaking into the bandage, sending a sharp pulse through the torn muscle. Tessa glanced down at my leg, then back to my face. "Can you make it?" she asked. "Ask a better question," I said. She almost smiled. Almost. We reached the cross hall where the maintenance corridor met a staff hallway lined with supply closets. The red exit sign at the far end pulsed slowly like a heartbeat. Behind us, a door crashed open. "Sub-level corridor, east wing," a man's voice called. Thorne. "He is bleeding. Follow the trail." I looked down. He was not wrong. A thin red smear marred the wet floor behind us in a broken line. "Closet," Tessa whispered. She pushed open the nearest supply door and pulled me inside. We were pressed close together between mops, boxes, and metal shelves. She reached up and hit the light switch. Darkness fell around us, broken only by a sliver of orange glow under the door. Her body was warm against my chest. I could feel her breathing, fast but controlled. Footsteps splashed in the hall. "Check every door," Thorne ordered. "He is limping. He did not get far." Tessa's hand found my wrist in the dark. Her fingers wrapped around it, tight. "Look at me," she mouthed. I turned my head. Even in the dim light, I could see her eyes. Wide, clear, not broken. We held each other's gaze while Boots came closer. A guard walked past our door. He was close enough that I could smell wet wool and sweat. The knob did not turn. He kept going. Then the footsteps stopped. Thorne's voice came from just outside. "He is bleeding," he said, lower now. "Where is the trail?" Silence. "Back this way," a guard answered. "It turns right." Tessa dropped her eyes to the floor. A smear of blood in the water pointed away from our door, down the opposite hall. I realized what she had done. At some point in that tight little space, when I was thinking about the pain in my leg and the sound of our hearts, she had reached down, pressed her hand into the blood on the tile, and dragged it the other way like a brush stroke. My chest tightened. She looked back up at me, reading my thoughts in my face. "USB?" she mouthed. I shook my head once. She held out her hand. I pressed the drive into her palm. "You go," I whispered. "Roof, find the satellite kit. Call for help. Use the logs if you have to." "And you?" she whispered back. I did not say anything brave. "I slow them down," I said. "You move faster without me." Quote. Her eyes flashed with anger and something else that looked too much like fear. Then she brought her clean hand up and framed my jaw. Her palm was warm. Her fingers were firm and sure. She pulled my face down and kissed me once, quick and hard. Not a question, a promise. "Stay alive," she breathed. Then she slipped out of the closet, staying low, hugging the wall. In a second she was gone, moving down the hall toward the stairwell. I waited one breath, then opened the closet door on the other side and stepped out into the main corridor on purpose. Thorne saw me from the far turn almost at once. He was in a dark suit with a security badge clipped to his belt like he owned the place. 2 guards flanked him. "There you are," he said. His voice was calm in a way that made my skin crawl. "Mr. Kane, always finding problems where there are none." I lifted my hands. "Looking for me?" I said. He pulled a heavy taser from its holster and turned it on. The electric crackle cut through the sound of the storm above. "You were always good at digging through records," he said as he walked closer. "But you never understood timing. Tonight is not about numbers. It is about control." He did not need to kill me. He just needed me to stop moving. He closed the distance and drove the taser into my side. The world went white and sharp all at once. My muscles locked. My jaw clenched. The floor rushed up to meet me. Then everything went black around the edges. When it came back, I was staring at the stained ceiling tiles in the ER waiting room. I was on a gurney, wrists zipped tied to the rails, ankles bound. The big glass lobby doors showed the storm outside like a movie. Rain ran in rivers. Wind shoved at the glass. The main lights were still out. Only dim emergency fixtures and red signs lit the big room. Thorne paced in front of me with his phone to his ear. "Find her," he said into it. "Roof access, stairwells, closets. She has a drive. I want it, and I want him where I can see him." He ended the call and walked over to me. "Where is it?" he asked, too casual. "Where is what?" I said. "The drive," he said. "The one you were so eager to hide. You think I do not know you, Hudson? You always like to keep a copy." I tasted blood, copper, and salt. I smiled anyway. "Gone," I said. "In this weather?" he scoffed. "She did not leave the building. She is hiding. You gave it to her." I did not answer. I looked past him at the trauma cart near the wall. Scissors. Gauze. Trauma shears. The zip ties dug into my skin when I flexed my hands. His radio crackled. "Roof," a voice said. "We saw someone at the satellite kit." Thorne's head snapped up. "I am on my way," he said, and turned away from me. He walked fast toward the side corridor, then faster. In that moment, I stopped being his problem. Tessa was. He disappeared through the doorway. I exhaled once and rolled my wrists. The zip ties bit deeper. I shifted my hands, turned them, and hooked one tie under the edge of the trauma shears on the cart. It took 3 tries to pull them close enough. My fingers closed around the handle. I twisted my wrist hard and pulled the plastic between the blades. The shears bit in. Pain shot through my hands. I kept sawing until the tie snapped. One hand free. The second tie came off faster. My legs were harder to reach, but not impossible. I sat up, biting back a groan as my calf screamed. I bent forward until my abs shook, cut the ties at my ankles, and ripped them loose. For a second, I just sat there, breathing hard, listening to the storm. Then I slid off the gurney. My leg almost quit under me. I caught myself on the trauma cart and grabbed a spare crutch from the corner. Every step hurt, but I could move. I moved. The elevators were dead, stuck somewhere between floors. I headed for the stairwell. The red exit sign glowed over the door like the only honest thing left in the building. Up 1 flight. 2. 3. By the 4th, my calf felt like someone had stuffed it with broken glass. Warm wet spread into my shoe again. I stopped once, pressed my palm against the bandage and pushed, steady, like Tessa had. Then I kept going. At the roof access, the door was half open, banging against the frame each time the wind hit it. Rain blew in sideways. I pushed out into the night. The roof was not flat and open like in movies. It was broken into shapes by big HVAC units, vents, and short walls. Wind roared in the open lanes between them, then dropped in the sheltered spots. Rain slapped my face and soaked through my clothes in seconds. I stayed low, using the metal housings as cover. Near the far side, by a satellite dish mounted to a short post, I saw her. Tessa was crouched behind a large metal unit, half shielded from the wind. Her hair was plastered to her face. Her blouse was soaked and clung to her shoulders. The nurse cap was gone. Her hands worked on a bundle of cables and a heavy satellite phone from the emergency kit. The USB drive was still between her fingers. She looked up and saw me. Relief hit her face first, then anger. "You should not be up here," she shouted over the wind. "I am not leaving you up here," I shouted back. She moved toward me in a low crouch, one hand on the parapet wall for balance. When she reached me, her fingers closed around my forearm for one quick second. She checked my leg with her eyes. She saw the blood, the limp, all of it. "You called it in?" I asked. She shook her head and held up the satellite phone. The small screen showed a low battery icon blinking slow. No data uplink, just a basic call interface. "It will not send files," she said. She leaned close so I could hear her. "Battery is almost dead. I can make one voice call. That is all." "So the uplink was a bluff," I said. Her mouth curved in a fierce little smile. "I needed Thorne to chase the idea of stolen data," she said, "not the drive in my pocket." The roof door slammed open again. Thorne stepped out into the rain with 2 guards behind him. Water slicked his hair back. His suit jacket was soaked and heavy. He saw us near the dish and smiled like we were just an item on a checklist. "Tessa," he called, "hand it over. You do not want to be the reason people die tonight." Tessa did not move. She did not hide. She lifted her phone instead. Not the satellite one, but her own. The screen glowed. "Say it again," she shouted back. "Say you locked the doors. Say you ordered the server wipe. Quote. I saw the red circle on her screen. She was recording him, in the middle of a storm, on the roof. Thorne's smile slipped. Thorne took a step toward us. Rain hid his face. His hair was plastered back. His eyes were sharp and mean. You think a video scares me? He shouted. I locked the doors for safety. I ordered the wipe to protect this hospital. That is my job. There it was, the words he never thought anyone would save. Tessa did not flinch. You locked people in without telling the state, she shouted back. You tried to erase the records that would prove it. That is not safety. That is a cover. One of the guards shifted, uneasy. Thorne saw it and snapped at him without looking away from us. Do not move, he barked. Both of you stay right there. He stepped closer again. Give me the phone, Tessa, he said. His tone dropped low. I can protect you. You are a good nurse. You do not want your name in this. She held the phone close to her chest. I am tired of being quiet, she said. I am tired of watching people like you act like this place is yours. He lunged. I moved without thinking. I planted my crutch and shoved my shoulder into his chest. My legs screamed. The wet roof made everything slippery. Thorne grabbed my jacket, trying to throw me off. He had more strength. I had more reason. He pushed me back toward the edge. For a second, my heel slipped. Rain washed under my shoe. My stomach flipped. A hand grabbed the back of my belt and held. Tessa. The grip was strong and sure. I have you, she shouted into my ear. That was enough. I shifted my weight and let Thorne's own push carry him sideways instead of forward. His foot hit a slick patch of tar. He went down hard against the side of the big HVAC unit. The metal rang. His head connected with a dull thud. He did not go out cold, but he stayed down, dazed. The taser slid across the wet roof toward the edge. One of the guards reached for it. Tessa moved faster. She kicked the taser under the unit with the side of her foot, then stepped back behind me again. The second guard looked between Thorne, us, and the edge of the roof. His jaw tightened. How bad is it? He shouted at me. Bad enough that someone outside needs to know, I said. Sirens cut through the storm, faint at first, then closer. They were not the hospital's own tones. This was deeper, louder. City police. Maybe state patrol. Tessa pulled the satellite phone from the cradle. The low battery icon blinked in the rain. She thumbed the call button and held it to her ear, then shouted to be heard over the wind. This is Nurse Tessa Rowan at St. Jude's, she yelled. We are on the roof. The building was locked down without state notice. We have evidence of records being erased and doors being sealed. We need outside help now. She listened for a second, then nodded. Yes, she said. We are safe for the moment. The suspect is Victor Thorne. He is on the roof with us. She ended the call. The phone screen went dark and stayed dark. One call, she said. Battery is dead now. One was enough, I said. The roof access door slammed open again. Two officers in wet uniforms pushed through, flashlights up. Behind them stood sheriff's deputies, their faces pale from the climb. Hands where we can see them, one officer shouted. I lifted my hands. Tessa lifted hers, the phone still in her grip. The guards did the same. Then one of the officers saw Thorne on the ground. Victor Thorne, he called. Get your hands up. Thorne blinked, tried to push himself up, then slumped back, breathing hard. You cannot be up here, he muttered. This is an internal matter. No, the officer said, not anymore. They cuffed him on his knees, read him his rights right there on the roof. Rain soaked into his suit. The storm did not care who he was. Tessa's shoulders relaxed just a little. Not much. Just enough that I could see the weight shift. We went back inside with the officers. The rest of the night was chaos, but it was a different kind of chaos now. Generators came back online with the help of outside crews. Doors were unlocked under police watch. Patients were moved where they needed to go. Nurses and doctors worked with flashlights and muscle and quiet anger. I ended up back in a bed, this time in a curtained bay near the ER desk. A paramedic cut my soaked bandage off and swore under his breath. "Tore it open again," he said. "You really want this leg later, you know that?" "I am kind of attached to it," I said. He snorted and wrapped it again, tighter and cleaner. Tessa stood at the foot of the bed, wrapped in an emergency blanket that made her look like she was wearing a silver cape. Her hair was a damp mess. Her blouse was wrinkled and stained. She looked tired in a way that went past the skin. A detective came by to take statements. I handed over my auditor badge, my notes, and the whole story from the parking garage to the roof. Tessa handed over her phone and showed the video and the staff group chat and the call log. The USB drive, still safe and dry in her pocket, went into an evidence bag and got logged, tagged, and signed. "You both will need to testify," the detective said. "I will," I said. "On one leg," Tessa added under her breath. The detective left. The storm outside finally started to move off. The sound of rain softened from rage to a steady tap. The glass stopped shaking. The ER quieted down to a normal kind of busy. People whispered instead of shouted. Machines beeped in steady patterns. It was late. Or early. Hard to tell. The charge nurse told Tessa to go home twice. She did not move. She pulled a rolling chair up beside my bed instead and sat down. The room was dim now, just one small light over my head and the soft glow of the monitor. The hallway sounds were muffled by the curtain. For the first time all night, it felt almost safe. Tessa looked at me. No storm, no orders, no radios, just us. Her voice dropped low, almost a whisper. "It's lonely here at night," she said, "when the alarms stop and the visitors go home. Can we talk until morning comes?" The words went straight to some quiet place in my chest. "Yeah," I said, "we can." So we did. We talked about small things first. Coffee versus tea. Why she liked nights more than days. Why I became an auditor instead of a cop. We traded pieces of our lives in low voices while the sky outside the window slowly shifted from black to gray. At some point, she laughed. It was soft and real and tired. At some point, my eyes closed for a minute. When I opened them, she was still there, chin in her hand, watching the window as the first thin line of morning showed up behind the clouds. "You stayed," I said. "You stayed too," she answered, "on a bad leg." 3 months later, the hospital lobby smelled like new paint and fresh floors. They held a small reopening event. Not a big one. Just enough for the board, a few reporters, and the staff who had not quit. I stood in a corner, weight on my good leg, a cane instead of a crutch now. The scar on my calf was a thick, pale line. It pulled when I walked, but it held. Internal Affairs had cleared my name. The state picked up Thorne's case. The forensic package from my hidden account and the USB had done their job. He was facing charges I would not wish on anyone. Tessa crossed the lobby in a clean set of scrubs and a soft sweater over them. No cap this time. Her hair was up in a loose knot. She came to stand next to me like we'd been doing it for years. "Back to work?" she asked. "Back to work," I said. They gave me a desk in the compliance office. Less running, more typing. "That is better for your leg," she said. "Better for my pulse, too," I said. She smiled. Silence settled between us, but it was a warm kind this time, not sharp. "I switched to permanent nights," she said. "I told them if anything strange happens again, I want to be here when it does." "I believe that," I said. She looked up at me, eyes soft now, not guarded. "So what are we?" she asked. "I am not your nurse. You are not my patient." I did not give a speech. I lifted my hand and cupped her jaw, gentle and steady. I waited. She leaned into my touch. That was my answer. I bent my head and kissed her. It was slower now, with no sirens screaming in the background, no storm shaking the glass. Just two people who had already seen each other at the worst and still chose the same room. When we pulled back, she rested her forehead against mine for one quiet breath. "Night shift is still lonely," she said. "I know," I said. "Good thing you know a guy who does not sleep much." She laughed, and this time it was light. Outside, the sky was clear. Inside, the lights were steady. The hospital still had problems. Life still had storms. But for the first time in a long time, I was not facing any of it alone. And when the night nurse asked if we could talk until morning, I knew my answer would always be yes.